Welcome to Allies or Enemies. I'm Jess.
And I am Sean, and this time we are talking about the UK Games Expo. And we did a preview of it last time, and now we're following up with our post view of all of the stuff that we saw there. I don't know if post view is a word, but it is now. And we had our list of stuff that we wanted to get to and we wanted to check off, and we got to most of it. I'd say like 90%. But there's probably 40% more of surprises. So we're going to go through all of that stuff.
Yeah, we were there from Thursday night right through to when it closed on Sunday. So we had a lot of time, but we were busy the whole time. It's the biggest board gaming convention in the UK, so there's a lot to do. And this is the highest number of people that they've ever had attend. And so it was really busy, especially on the Saturday.
Yeah, the Saturday was packed. It was shoulder to shoulder, nose to nose, butt to butt, all the way across the whole thing. But we did thankfully have a lot of stuff booked in, as you said. So we still got to play a bunch of stuff. And let's just kick it off with one of those.
The first game we're going to talk about is Moon, and this is the third one in the trilogy that it starts with Villagers, then Streets, and now Moon. And we've kickstarted this, so we're looking forward to getting it at some point, and we were happy to play it at the convention. And we got to get it demoed by the designer, which is always really cool. And it was a really interesting, again, very different mechanics to the other two. And this is a drafting game, but each deck that you get from the previous player also includes a player power. So you have to try and maximize using a different player power each turn.
Yeah, that is a cool. I haven't seen that before, where your individual player power gets passed around. And there's neat stuff where you've got these rovers that you're driving over to other people's places, and so that's triggering things that can help you play cards. I was really glad that he was there to teach us, because we played Streets wildly incorrectly for like the first 3 or 4 games before we figured it out, and then we really liked it. So we won't have that problem this time.
And I'm glad we liked it because our copy's arriving soon.
Yes. The next one that I want to talk about that a friend of ours picked up and we just played in the gaming hall actually after the convention is Vegetable Stock. And this is one everyone seemed to be talking about. Everyone seemed to have a copy of this, except for us. We missed out on this because we learned about it too late. But it was from Taiwan. It's from a booth from Taiwan. And it's this really interesting game that the cards look a little bit like Point Salad. But the game is totally different. It's just this really simple market manipulation game where each time you draft a veggie card that's got 3 different veggies on it, and then whichever card is undrafted moves up the stocks that are from veggies. But if they get all the way to the top, they crash. So you want to collect up vegetables that are going to have high stocks, but not have those stocks crash. And super simple, super fast, but really fun. And I get why everyone was playing it.
Yeah, and it comes in a small box and I think is quite affordable. And so it works as a small, quick card game. The next one I want to talk about is one that we didn't get a chance to play, but we did see the components for, and that's the next Lost Ruins of Arnak expansion. And so I'm really excited for this. It comes with 2 new leaders, and they both looked really great, and it comes with a campaign that you can play cooperatively that's 6 stories. So we got a bit of a sneak peek of what's included in the box, but they weren't demoing it or anything. It was more just an opportunity to kind of be like, ooh, I see what's in there, and I like what I see.
And then also at the CGE booth was the one that I think was, for both of us, our favorite game that we played at the convention, and that is Kutna Hora. And this was not on my radar. I'd seen the box cover, and it's very black, it's very boring. The write-up said basically you build a cathedral. I've built so many cathedrals over the course of all of these board games, but it's tremendous. It is so interesting and so different from really anything else that I played. Each player has got their player board, and the player boards are really cool. And you've got 3 different kinds of buildings that you're kind of responsible for and that you really care about. So like I had, one of mine was beer, one of yours was mining. I think. And there's 3 of us playing. And then it's also got this interesting thing where the price of goods changes every time that you build buildings or buy goods or whatever. And it's these little kind of popsicle sticks with a little window that slide back and forth. And then these cards that move behind the thing. This is hard to explain, but it's a really interesting and cool mechanic. And the whole thing, building a city, building a mine. I can't fully explain all the stuff that was in it, but we were really into it.
Yeah, and I think it's due for an Essen release, and so this is one that as soon as it comes out, we're going to get, because we loved it. And it was very interesting, the market manipulation, because it definitely meant you were paying attention on other people's turns, because they would build something and all of a sudden wood would be way cheaper. So that opened up a few possibilities, or you had to try and jump on those opportunities.
Yeah, or sell your stuff, or do your income at the right time as well. It's really cool.
The next one is Cosmoctopus. And I think you meant to say this on our expectations videos of ones you wanted to play. And somehow it didn't end up there. But as soon as we saw it, we were excited to play it. It comes with this really great giant octopus. And your goal in the winning condition is to get your 8 tentacles that come out of like this black hole. And how you do that is there's the shared board that you're moving the octopus along to collect resources. And then you have different cards that you can trade in, hopefully eventually getting to be able to get tentacles with those resources. And it's by the same designer
Henry Audubon, from Parks.
Yeah. So a very similar vibe in terms of the simple resource collection, but again, very different. And the look is just amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known it was by the guy who made Parks, and then when they said, you're like, okay, but it's super, and it's so awesome. It's just the name, Cosmoctopus. I'm gonna buy a game called Cosmoctopus. Are you kidding me? Of course I am. And
another one is Tribes of the Wind, and this is one we had our eye on. Every time we went there, it seemed to be quite busy. So at one point, the lead demoer, I think his name is Richie, came over and gave us a full explanation of how to play. But that just made us want to play even more. So we were really happy when we got a chance a little bit later to play through a few rounds. And it is great. It's a really interesting card mechanic where the cards that you play are entirely dependent on the backs of your neighbors and what types of resources you get and how many of them.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like one of those games that's kind of difficult to teach. So I felt bad for them because Richie had taught us earlier in the day, and then when we came back and got that chance, there's another lady who was teaching us, and there was a couple there, and I think we were kind of half paying attention, and I hope I didn't come off like a jerk. It's just that we'd already learned the game, so I was having trouble focusing. But when we brought it home, we really learned how to play it, and it was like, oh, this is actually pretty simple, but it's one where you just kind of gotta take the 5 minutes to read the rule book. I think is a lot easier than trying to make someone teach you how to play, because it's just some weird concepts, but it's really solid. And
it looks really pretty as well. And so this was one we did purchase because we enjoyed the play through of it so much.
And it was like 3 hours of hunting to try. We were hovering so much. We were real creepers for this game. So I'm glad we got a chance to play it, and we had to after the journey. Another opportunity we had to play with some other folks was Cheese Thief. And Cheese Thief was one of those great times when it's mostly just strangers around the table. Because it's like a 6 to 8 player game. So we had 4 other people come and join us for it. And then we had a terrific teacher. This one is much easier to teach. This one has like 3 rules. It's basically just werewolf for kids. But it's great because one person's a cheese thief and everyone else are sleepyheads. And you're all mice, and someone's going to steal the cheese in the night. And so the narrator is just like 1 o'clock. Everyone wake up. You like roll a dice for when you're going to wake up. And it's super simple. It's interesting because it's werewolf for kids, but they gotta be like well behaved and actually like keep their eyes closed and follow all the rules, and someone's got to kind of narrate to them.
Yeah, it was fun to play a couple rounds in a convention setting, but it does require a large group of people, and we don't really like social deduction games. And I kept getting accused, and I was only just
you also kept being the cheese thief.
I was only the cheese thief
so much
once.
Cheese,
and yet every time I would be accused.
She looks like look at this. She looks like a cheese thief. And you know what? She is.
You were Another game that we played with some folks that we hadn't met before is Caylus 1303. And this was great. Somebody who watched our channel ran into us and invited us to play.
Yeah, thank you if you're watching now. Thank you. It was really fun.
Yeah, and neither of us had played Caylus before, and apparently this is a re-implementation, and it's a bit of an older game, but I really liked it. It has changing actions depending on the buildings that get built, and the earlier actions end up getting like built over or flipped over, so it always is changing what you can do and who owns what. And I played terribly, but I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd always heard about this because it's one of the first worker placement games. I think maybe not quite the first, but maybe like kind of one of the ones that really sprung it into popularity. So you could see this influencing a lot of other people's work in later games. And so it's so interesting to play some of these like early worker placement or early deck building or early whatever. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how the re-implementation has changed from the original, because what we played was great.
The next one on our list is Swatch from Minerva Games. And full disclosure, Minerva Games is run by this guy, Scott, who I know a little bit from playtesting here in London. So I already like him, so I was probably going to like his game. But it is legitimately very cool. It's this interesting game about mixing colors. And you've got a row of cards, you got little markers on your cards. And then you're doing stuff like you're gaining some of a color, or you're mixing colors, and then you're trying to get goals. And it's pretty simple, it's pretty quick, but that was fun, and it's really pretty. And he had a new one there as well called Crumbs that we didn't get a chance to play because it was always busy. So that bodes well as well.
Yeah, the Crumbs is an 18 card deck, I believe, where you're like making a sandwich, and it looked great. We didn't get a chance to play that. And you whooped me at Swatch because you cornered the blue market. So I couldn't do any mixing that involved blue because you had that covered.
Yeah, you can. There's a few cards in there that are mean and let you steal things, and I think I got every one, and I stole so much blue.
The next one is Forbidden Jungle, and we had heard about Forbidden Jungle, but I didn't realize it was going to be at the convention. And they had one box in the country that they had opened up at the convention, and for most of the weekend, it was just rammed. It was busy all of the time. I did manage to find an opportunity when Sean wasn't with me.
So I didn't get to play it. I've only heard about it secondhand.
And I had to recruit a few other people to play with me. But it is a really interesting next step for the Forbidden series. And this time you've landed on a planet. And then you've got all these different aliens. And what's interesting is the cards that you flip for threat have to do with putting out like more aliens and stinging you and affecting your health, as opposed to moving the tiles around. But that's one of the things you have to do. Is your goal is to put the portal surrounded by working crystals. So you have to flip the tiles to figure out which crystals are where and what portals are working, and then use different tiles to move them about. I only managed to play the first half, where we did a great job at killing things, but I didn't get a chance to test out how easy it was to do the moving things around.
And I got nothing to say about this because I didn't get to play it, but it did look really cool. The one I did get to play was Ancient Knowledge, and this was over at the Yellow booth. And this was it looks and feels a little bit like a sequel to Rise of Korra, or Korra Rise of an Empire, but apparently it's none of the same people involved, but it just has a little bit of that feel. But it is about, you are kind of going through history, or I don't know if you're like archaeologists or something, but you're, I think, digging up like these ancient artifacts. So you've got these artifacts that go on your artifact board, and they give you all the time powers. But then you also have these other like bits of history that are kind of moving backwards through time. So they start at a certain point. You've got this board that has like 1 to 5, and they start at a certain point, and then they slowly move backwards. And while they're out, they give you a power. And when they go away, they give you a power. And all sorts of things. There's like books, and you got to learn things, and you got to get those off. It's hard to explain, but it had a lot of that Korra Rise of an Empire feel to me, where they've really abstracted this kind of bigger idea.
Yeah, it is quite abstracted, but those combos can be really fun, and you've got an opportunity to manipulate where they go by paying a certain cost. So you can sometimes set things up for a really strong combo that stays out for a while. So it was a fun efficiency puzzle.
And then the reason I wasn't playing Forbidden Jungle is that I was busy playtesting as well. So that was also a really cool part of the whole. This is the first time I've been to a convention where I've also been designing games at the same time. So going to the Playtest Zone, and that was packed the whole time. It seemed like there was never a time when someone trying to test a game didn't have someone to test it with. And I got lucky. I got to try 3 of my games. And really, a really cool thing, if you've seen the channel Adam from Wales, if you haven't, and you're a designer, check it out, because he's got phenomenal stuff, phenomenal tips. But he took some time out of his day to come down and play one of my games, which was super nice and gave me some really great feedback. So that was lovely too. And it was, it was just really cool for that side of things and seeing that door. So if you haven't ever taken part in the Playtest Zone, you should do that at some of these conventions, because there's some really cool stuff that people are putting out.
We also picked up a bunch of games that we didn't get a chance to play at the convention, but we have since played most of them since bringing them back. And one of those is Books of Time. And this was given to us for review by Board and Dice. And it's really interesting. You're given these 3 different books that are actual, like, books with the 2-ring binders, and your goal is to maximize the pages that you're collecting for the symbols that are on them, whilst also trying to get the actions that you need, since the actions that you perform are on the pages, and once you perform them, you flip the pages of the book. And I really like that puzzle of trying to figure out how to get it all done, and the different types of scoring that you can do, because I think both of us were going for different types of technology tracks in terms of the various books.
Yeah, there's a few different things you can do with it, and there's this cool thing too. When you get to the end of the book, you close the book, but then you flip back through, and there's all of these like one-time bonuses that you get as well. So it's got a lot of depth in it, I think. And the book thing is just, it's really cool. It looks really cool. It feels cool. So it's one that I'm looking forward to playing a lot more, and expect there will be a full review of this one in the next few weeks once we've had a time to play it. We always play our games 3 to 5 times, usually 5 times before we review them. So we got a lot more plays for a lot of these before you're going to see our reviews. But from early plays, we do like it. Another one that I really wanted to talk about, we were there Friday, 9 a.m. I do not wake up early in the morning for anything, but there were full deluxe copies of Hegemony, and I have been itching to play this game. And oh boy, did everyone not disappoint. This is phenomenal. This is just this amazing socio-economic puzzle where everyone is totally different asymmetric factions, and I got to be the working class, and we lost barely to the dirty capitalists. And Jess should feel ashamed of herself. It was great. Even just as a 2-player game, it was tremendous. I can't wait to try the 4-player.
Yeah, because at 2 players, those are your only 2 class options, is the working class and the capitalist. Whereas at 3 players, you add in the middle class, and at 4 players, you add in the state. And it is very asymmetric. Your player boards look completely different. I was able to, thanks to the working class, collect all of these goods and sell them to the foreign markets.
We're just working our butts off, making goods for the man.
But it was really interesting. So another one I'm looking forward to playing a lot more.
Yeah, this is an amazing game that we will be talking about in the future.
We were also given Peas for Pizza from the designer of the game, and it's a really fun party game. We don't really play a lot of party games, but this is a great word letter game that plays really fast as you build your pizza out, and it has some really great puns in it as well.
Yeah, this is one that you just, like, it's in Walmart, it's in Tesco, it's all over the place, and I hadn't played it even though I know the designer. I'm friends with the designer, so I was glad to finally get a chance to play it, and it's great. Yeah, Direct makes some really cool games, and I feel bad for not having played this before, but it is really fun. We also got a bunch of review copies of stuff, and we're going to be covering a bunch of really cool stuff from Funko, and most of their games get made by Prospero Hall, and we're unabashed fans of Prospero Hall. I'm sure if you've ever watched this channel, you have heard us talk about Horrified, which is one of our one of our like big loves of board games, and there's a whole bunch of their stuff that we like. And so we got Big Boss, which we managed to play, and that was a huge surprise. I did not think I was gonna like this game. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a re-implementation of the older version. That
Yes,
one's not Prospero Hall.
Wolfgang Kramer is the designer of that one. So that's like a game from the 80s or 90s. But it felt pretty fresh. It's a really cool game. And then there was also an Indiana Jones game, which is a co-op game. That was cool too. It's a card playing game, and you've got these two kind of cars like Temple of Doom style that you're adding jewels to, and then when they flip over, a timer flips, and then you got to quickly play cards to beat up the bad guys. And yeah, I think we had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, and there was another Indiana Jones one called Something Wild, which was a very quick small box card game that you are collecting a set of 3. And it also was really fun. It played really quick and had these interesting little powers that you got once you won a thing, or once you had the little Indiana Jones figurine, which also looks great.
Unfortunately, though, we didn't get a chance to play everything that was on our list. One of the big ones that we didn't, well, big one, but one of the ones I really wanted to play because it comes in a hamburger box was Burger ASAP, but I just didn't see it. I had my eye out for it. I did not come across it the whole time, so that's too bad.
And then another one that we did see, but it was only one box, was Mosaic. And we just never had the time or the brain capacity to sit down and learn it.
It's a big game and a lot of reading a rule book in a very loud space. So we do want to play that, though.
And then 2 that were very busy that we never got a chance to. One of them was they did have a couple copies of Stonemeyer's Expeditions that they were demoing, but those spots filled up right away. And the Disney's Lorcana had a huge queue the entire time in a giant section. So some people are really excited about that.
Yeah, that was wrapped like around the block all the time. So it's probably not a game I really want to play. I've never been that into the collectible card games, but people were into it. People were very into that one. And then the other ones we brought home were My City Roll and Write, which I am very keen to play, but we haven't started that one yet. Also, the new version of Cranium, which was one of the games that kind of before I was into like modern Euro board games, that was one of the games that we played all the time. That was like a game that was a big hit in my family. People love doing the Play-Doh-y stuff. So I'm excited to see what the new one looks like. And if, every now and then it's fun to play just those old school party games. So it's nice to have one kicking around. And Final Girl, I picked up another box, much to Jess's delight. This one was Intruders, which is based on kind of Purge, Straw Dogs, Strangers kind of thing.
And then another one is one we played on BGA, but we haven't played our physical version, and that is Earth. And I think they sold out of that right away. But it's actually, Inside Up seems to be a very lovely Canadian family company. So it was great to chat with them in the line.
It's funny, whenever Canadians see Canadians, we get so excited. It's like dogs meeting at the dog park. We just all, "Ooh, where are you from in Canada? We got to talk about Canada." And I love it. It's always so fun. So it was really nice to meet the folks from Inside Up. Always good to chat with other Canadians, to find them overseas. So that was great. And yeah, we like that game online. I can't imagine we won't like it. We're probably going to play that as soon as we push stop on this camera, I think.
And that sums up everything that we played or had an eye on throughout the convention, from Thursday all the way through to Sunday. And we were busy the entire time. And even with that, we still heard people talking about some of the things that we had missed. We weren't even really aware of all of the events. I think there were some interesting talks, and there was a pub quiz and other stuff that we probably should have looked at the schedule and tried to go to.
Yeah, our schedule is just so packed between chatting with publishers and doing demos and doing play testing and everything else that was going on. It was fun. It was really interesting to be part of like so many parts of it. I feel like we haven't been in the past, which was very cool, especially doing the playtest side. And on that side as well, and I've been saying this, there's going to be more info coming up about about all of the games that we're looking to get out there in some form or other. And there's a website that is going to be online very quickly. And that'll be a whole other video too coming out pretty darn soon.
But thank you so much for watching. And if you went to the Games Expo, what was your favorite part, or what was the favorite game that you demoed? We would love to hear about it. So as usual, please like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time for another game.